All right, so you can go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. I'm Professor Elizabeth Prodromou, and I've been teaching here at the Fletcher School since 2014. I'm the faculty director of the Initiative on Religion, Law, and Diplomacy, and I'm also what's known in the lexicon of Tufts and Fletcher as a double jumbo, which means that I was both a Tufts undergraduate and a Fletcher MALD. So it's a particular pleasure to welcome you to this course, P261, Democratization in the Middle East, Theory and Praxis. We use the terms democratization and Middle East all the time, but we often use these terms without precision, without historical or analytical or methodological clarity. And for social scientists, and especially for policymakers and practitioners who are interested in and who make decisions that have an existential impact on people's lives in the Middle East, in democratization policies, it's imperative that we're precise in how we use the terms democratization and Middle East. So when we study in this course the patterns, the pathways, and the policies of democratization in the Middle East, we're actually going to unpack these terms, and we're going to explore some foundational questions associated with the terms. First of all, we look at what is democracy. We're also going to look at what is democratization as a process. We're also going to consider how different countries in the Middle East define and build democratic regimes, whether there's an acceptance of certain foundational norms, institutions, and practices that are understood as intrinsic to democracy, but also while customizing those foundational norms, practices, and principles to the specificities of historical experience, national realities, and also geopolitical priorities and dynamics. So we're going to apply these kinds of questions to the region known as the Middle East. And in order to answer the questions, to explore them and answer them, we're also going to spend some time on the very term Middle East itself. We really want to understand the different knowledge frameworks, the epistemic frameworks, and those assumptions that are informed into those frameworks that shape the term Middle East, or that help people to use the term in different ways. And we also want to think about what are the assumptions that policymakers bring based on their knowledge networks, their knowledge frameworks, of which they may be aware or of which they may be unaware and apply subconsciously when addressing the question of democratization and the practices of democracy building in the Middle East. Now, some people think about the Middle East in terms of physical territory or geography, but even then, the term Middle East takes on different meanings. So it could be the territory of the Levant, of the Arabian Persian Gulf, or it could include what we call the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. So the littoral of North African and Eastern Mediterranean countries, or it could include, and it could include then all of the Levant and the Arabian Peninsula. But so we're going to be looking at this very issue of what we mean in the course by Middle East and the different ways that policymakers and practitioners apply that meaning to the project of democratization. Now, in addition to being sure about how we use our terms in the course, we're going to make a methodological choice. The course focuses mainly on a series of case studies: Turkey, Egypt, Israel, the Palestinian territories, and Syria, to explore democratization patterns and pathways. But beyond the intensive treatment of these cases, we're going to include regular attention to other cases, such as Iran, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and others. In other words, we're going to be thinking like comparativists in the course. We're also going to emphasize the importance of history, historical pathways, and geopolitics in order to understand democratization in the region, because we don't want to fall into the trap of essentializing the Middle East and falling into the trap of Middle East exceptionalism. In other words, the argument that has been so common in scholarship and among policymakers that the Middle East cannot be democratized. So we take history and geopolitics seriously, throughout this course, and we understand democratization as an open-ended project with conjunctural opportunities rather than as a kind of unilinear, uniform project. This is an incredibly exciting time to be studying democratization in the region. The academic year 2020-2021 marks 10 years since the Arab Spring events, a decade since the start of the war in Syria, and it also puts us on the cusp of the end of the Ottoman Empire and all of the events that started state building and nation formation across the region. We're also going to be studying democratization in the region within the global context of the COVID-19 pandemic, the general global weakening of democracy, and also great fluidity in international relations paradigms. So in order to help us think about our cases within this broad context, we're going to have regular guest experts who'll visit the class from the think tank, policy, and practitioner contexts, and also from the academic space. So you're going to have a great opportunity to engage with real experts on serious thinkers with diverse experiences in the bricks and mortar work of democratization in the Middle East, and also in shaping knowledge frameworks, epistemic tools, and narratives that directly affect democratization in the region. Finally, in terms of requirements, our virtual reality, I think, is one that lends itself best to a mix of different kinds of assignments. So there will be a couple of op-eds, a couple of shared presentations on targeted readings, and a final writing assignment of modest scope on any case that interests you from the region, very broadly understood. I look forward to seeing you in the course, and meanwhile, I wish you all health and rest over the upcoming winter break.